Hey, what's good guys? This is Chris from WearTesters.com. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel, the best sneaker channel right here on this YouTube platform. Today we are taking it back. A little bit of a rewind, a trip through time, and we're taking a look at Dwyane Wade's very short-lived signature series from Jordan Brand, the Jordan Fly Wade. So for those of you guys that have been rocking with this channel for, man, we've been on here for 10 years now, but if you've been here for the entire time, or at least most of it, you probably already know what these guys are. This is the Jordan Fly Wade 1. And again, we're talking about Dwyane Wade's signature series of Jordan Brand. He did wear other shoes while with the brand. He wore shoes like the 16.5, the Air Jordan 12, the Jordan 2010, the Jordan 1 Alpha, all of that stuff, but we're not talking about any of those. We're just talking about his signatures. And this right here is the first one. This is the Jordan Fly Wade. And these, at the time, they were incredible, kind of like reliving through them, not so much. The traction on these things was very reminiscent of what they featured on the Air Jordan 2011. Now that was a f***ing shoe. Those are gorgeous, by the way. I just gotta say, the pair that he wore in the All-Star game, the white and royal joints, I'm still mad that I didn't get a pair of those. I had every colorway but that one. Well, and the Year of the Rabbits, but those were ugly. But anyways, these guys right here have fingerprint traction, and this is awesome stuff, man. The only problem that I remember having with them was right there at the pivot point. They just like clogged it up. The fingerprint was so tight in there and stuff, so that when I was on a floor that was not as desirable as maybe the floor that I was on before it, you would get a little bit of slipping and things like that. When you're coming around a screen, if you're like curling and trying to get open, then that's when you would notice this stuff. But otherwise, it was good to go. Outdoors, especially taking them back outside after all of these years, it stuck like glue. I don't know why, but the outdoor court that we shoot our B-roll at, it's not that the court that we test on, but it's just the one that we give you all of these visuals. That court I've just not had issues with slipping. It's kind of weird. But anyways, the traction on these guys was very good, not awesome, but very good. And then the cushion on these things, and this thing, I think the shoe retailed for like 120, 125, something like that. And these guys had heel and forefoot cushion. In the heel, you guys can see that it's a visible air unit. And then in the forefoot, it was Zoom Air. And even now, like right now, these are mad comfortable, dude. Like I gotta say, like the Zoom Air is bouncy, it's springy. The shoe is released in 2011, so I mean, it's been a minute, you know what I mean? Like these are not new shoes, these are some old shoes, and I'm just surprised that the Zoom still held up. The Phylon midsole feels okay, doesn't feel like anything crazy. The only thing that I will say is in comparison to these guys right here, which is the Fly Wade 2, we'll talk about these in a minute, is that these are noticeably high sitting. So like when you're in them, in comparison to other shoes or more modern shoes, you can tell that you sit off the floor just a little bit more than in something else. Now the materials on these guys are definitely reminiscent of the year 2011. This is not fused, but it's a synthetic material, and it's just real thin, it's real cheap. It bubbles up when you lace them up tight and everything. It doesn't move well with the foot, like something a little bit later. It could have also been the last itself. The last maybe is a little bit more bubbly than something else. And then you have more synthetics here. This stuff right here is more like fused than anything else on the shoe. And then it is perforated for some airflow. You got some synthetic nubuck right here, and then some synthetic leather that again is pretty much fused, but it mimics the feel of leather. I really liked the way that all of this part felt and fit, but not this part right here. And something that I just wanted to point out is that this is the original Dwyane Wade logo for Jordan Brand. This is unfortunately what they had to go with afterwards because of the fact that this logo right here was too similar to a brand that we actually really love here over at WearTesters. They're called Point 3. They do basketball apparel and all that stuff. And their logo is very similar to this. They actually sued the Jordan Brand and they won for like copyright infringement and all that stuff. So I thought that was really interesting, just a little fun fact for you guys. So that's why this logo, which was so cool, was changed to the weird one that we got the second time around. The fit on these guys, like I was saying, I just don't like the forefoot kind of bubbliness, but I love these little notches right here. These were featured in previous Kobe iterations and shoes of this era. They're also on the Fly Wade 2 as well. I'm really glad that they carried that over. And what that actually does is it allows the upper to really fold and wrap around the foot while still giving you some breaking points for flexibility right there at the toe. So I think it's awesome. awesome. I just wish that the bubbliness wasn't there, or the volume that's in the forefoot. As far as sizing is concerned on these guys, if you wanted to try a pair of these out, like if you were searching on eBay and you were like, dude, they're like 40 bucks. They are. It's pretty cool. I would go true to size. That's what works best for me, and that's most likely what will work best for most people. The material is a little bit forgiving as well, so if you do have a wide foot, don't worry, they'll break in for you. Now, these guys were cool. They were awesome at the time. 2011, Dwyane Wade's first signature shoe with the Jordan brand. Everybody was hyped up. Everybody was pumped, including D Wade. Everything was awesome, if you will. Oh my gosh, I love this song. Everything is awesome. But it got a little bit more awesome the second time around. Everything is still awesome. Is that the song that was in the second Lego movie?
Everything is not awesome.
Oh, everything was not awesome, but it was. These bad boys right here are the Fly Wade 2. This is the EV or something like that. I can't remember what they were actually called, but this is the playoff version. There's a different version without this, you know, visible fly wire. But both models were very similar. The only thing that they really changed on these guys was that inside of the fly wire is that they added a couple of little screen mesh vents, but that's literally it. Like everything else is exactly the same. Maybe the tongue is a little bit different, the materials. I remember the materials on the first version being so thin and airy, which is great for ventilation, but when people would tie them up and pull the tongue up, it would literally rip. And we're reliving that right now with the KD12s. That's an awesome shoe, just like these were, but the tongue is so thin and light, man. When you just tug on a little too tight, you start popping some stitches out and stuff. It's crazy. But these guys back in 2012, I believe this was my favorite shoe that year. Like out of all the shoes, this is the one that I picked as my favorite or my top pick. And these things are still awesome today, dude. These are the shoes where I fell in love with Lunarlon. This to me is real Lunarlon, and it still holds up. Now the traction on these things is a massive upgrade in comparison to the original. We have this weird pattern. I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember what it was inspired by, and it really doesn't matter. All you got to know is that it works really, really well. If you're talking about like traction where you can hear it, and which doesn't like indicate that it's good or not, but if it is super squeaky, a lot of times people correlate that with great grip, even though it's not true. But if you do like that, these things screech like crazy, like they're just super loud. And on top of that, these things have a partial double last midsole, which is interesting. So the back portion is kind of exposed, but then the internal portion is internal, and the forefoot fit, like I was saying, that is real roomy and real kind of like got a little bit too much volume above the toe. And the Fly Wade 1, this guy right here does not have that issue. Unfortunately, that was a pain in the ass for wide footers, but for someone like me, I absolutely loved it. And again, they kept those little notches, those flex screws right there at the base of the shoe, and I just absolutely love that. It gives you so much freedom of mobility, especially when we're talking about an outdated material like this fuse stuff right here, which is straight plastic. But yeah, these guys right here feature that super old school fuse. This stuff is so whack nowadays. Like I would not want to wear something that's made like this casually, but on court, I still think it's functional and it retains its shape. It is very durable and all that stuff, because again, it's pretty much a plastic shell. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but right here, there's the ventilation screens, and they have it on both sides of the fuse material and all that stuff. This is what we got back in 2012. I think that we're doing a little bit better now in 2019. Now the fit on these guys are fantastic. Again, it's not going to be like the greatest thing for wide footers or anything like that, but if you're a narrow or normal footer and you like a nice snug fit, going true to size is going to give that to you, and it's just going to feel like a glove on your foot, despite the fact that it's made out of fuse or plastic. It's kind of like that nice plasticky material. If you guys remember the LeBron 10, very similar stuff. Now a direct comparison between the two, again, I think that the fit or containment, the overall lockdown on these guys is better. I also feel like the support is better as well. You can see that massive outrigger right there. Lateral support is great on these things. And this guy right here, it's mostly because of the upper, but the lateral containment or support just isn't as great. I do like the way that the back of this shoe fits a little bit better than these guys though. It's got that softer material, a lot of mobility, range of motion. It feels like a low top for me. These guys right here feature the plasticky stuff. It sometimes can be a little stiff and doesn't move in certain areas. It just depends. And then again, the traction on these guys is way better. And then the cushion, it really depends on what you like. If you like air cushions, this has both. It's got air in the back, zoom in the front. If you like foam cushions like Lunar, I'm telling you, if you've used Lunar in the drop-in midsole era from the Kobe 8, not the 7. The 7s were mad comfortable, but we're talking about like the Kobe 8, although the 7s use Cushlon. I don't know if they use Lunar, I can't remember. But the Kobe 8 started using Lunarlon, and this guy right here is 10 times better in feel, like as far as underfoot feel, than those things, in my opinion. And this again is just where I fell in love with Lunarlon cushioning. I thought that this was just the best ever, you know what I mean? Like I remember putting these on and just being like, yo, these are wicked comfortable, and they just never were able to replicate that same type of cushion underfoot again, which is real unfortunate. This was the thing where I was like, Lunarlon's gonna be this and it turned into and it sucked. But it is a lot of fun going back, I will say. It's so much fun. I've been doing this for so long, you almost forget what you've tested, but going back, you're able to be like, this was an interesting time. Very short-lived, 2 models. It's kind of sad because I was expecting a third. I believe that they actually made a third that never ended up being produced and went to retail, because at that time, you know, Dwyane Wade was like, man, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna make my own way. And he went over to Li-Ning and created the Wade brand, much like Jordan did with Nike with the Jordan brand. So if you guys remember the Fly Wade series, let me know what you guys think about them down below in the comment section. If you played in either of these two, maybe both of them, I hope both of them. They were both solid shoes back then. Let me know what you remember about them. If you still have them, maybe this video is gonna make you dig them out of your closet and go like hoop it up or something and just kind of like relive that time frame. But that pretty much takes care of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all your support. Again, sound off below. Let us know what you guys think about these in the comment section. And until next time, guys, have a good one.